this is Stepping Songbird, and today I'm going to make 2 cards using an old Hero Arts monthly kit. This kit is maybe a year old, maybe a little bit older, but it is beautiful. So this kit is called La Vita è Bella, which means life is beautiful in Italian. So it's got these beautiful sayings in Italian and in English, as well as some clouds and some birds. I'm going to start with a basic 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 piece of white cardstock, and then bring in my Tim Holtz layering masks for the moon. So I am doing these cards because I used a more current Hero Arts monthly kit and remembered that I had this one and wanted to show you how beautiful those kits are. So this time I'm going to go with a larger moon. The cards I did in my previous video had the smallest size moon. This one is the medium size. So I'm putting in all of the pieces that I ran through my Big Shot. These are the dies that come in this monthly kit. But this is a very old kit, like I said. So I'm just measuring here the buildings and the bridge to make sure that it makes sense to have that big moon. So I'm going to use speckled egg and chipped sapphire to blend around the moon so that behind that stencil you see a white moon, and then around that it is a sort of a midnight blue. Look how clean that looks. Now to put the top part of the stencil, which gives the moon all of its details. So for that I'm using pumice stone, which is my go-to for moons. That looks really, really good. Give you a little close-up. And now we're going to move on to putting the elements that come in the kit. So like I said, these buildings are from the dies that come in the kit, and they are buildings that you would see in Venice, Italy specifically. So I'm just measuring to make sure that it makes sense to leave them there, and I'm still debating whether I'm going to use the bridge or not. What I am going to do is back these 2 die cuts of the buildings. I'm going to back them up with some yellow cardstock so it looks like the lights are on. And I'm using my Art Institute glitter glue. So now that I have the yellow paper backing up the buildings, I'm just going to place all of my die pieces together just to see which one makes the most sense. So this strip here is actually the water die, and I backed that up with a piece of white cardstock, and I'm just going to add that to the bottom. I've also sponged a little bit of that water so it wasn't so stark white. So here I have my building that goes on the left, and then I have my building that goes on the right. But I'm thinking I need to pop these up on foam tape. So I do that off screen, and I'm just going to adhere them. Now there's a little bit of lift. They almost look like they're pushing the moon back. So this kit comes with a line of laundry, which is similar to the most current December kit for 2021. Which I made cards for in a previous video, and I will link below. So I'm going to use that laundry line here, connecting one building to the other. But I believe that those need to be popped up as well. So I cut some teeny tiny little pieces of foam tape, and I add that to the back off camera and add some Art Institute glitter glue. And then I'm going to add that right in between both buildings as if it were connecting both buildings. Now it doesn't lay so flat. Next, I'm going to use the birds that come in the stamp set to place them right over the moon so it looks like they're flying at night. I love how large that moon looks. So I'm using just a stamping block here. I could use my stamping platform, but I chose not to. Here I'm going to add the silhouette of a man on a gondola, and I'm just going to place him at the bottom. No foam tape here, just some Art Institute glue, and that should do the trick. I think he's nice and secure. So I'm going to add a sentiment, and I'm just going to grab the long skinny sentiment here that says bon cumpleaños, which means happy birthday. And I'm sorry if I am butchering the beautiful Italian language. I'm trying to read what the stamp says. So I'm going to use my go-to Memento Tuxedo black ink and just use a stamping block to stamp that in. And before I can call this card done, obviously I have to put it on a card base. So I'm going to place that piece right on top of a black A2 size card base, making sure that it's nice and flush. Okay. So I'm just tapping that down, making sure that it is in place, and that one is done. Next, to begin my second card, I have this mask that I created with some magic tape, and I'm putting it at the top, not completely at the center. I want it to be cut off a little bit, and I'm going to make a sun with this. And I'm just adding some paper on the side so that I don't dirty the card base. I'm going to use some Distress Oxide inks in yellows. I use Fossilized Amber, Wild Honey, and Ripe Persimmon to create the sun and a little bit of light towards the bottom, which you'll see next. I added a little bit more of that yellow underneath the sun just to give it the illusion of illuminating the skies. And then I came in with a darker yellow orangey color. I think it's Ripe Persimmon or Wild Honey. Also Distress Oxide. Here I'm measuring the buildings that I had left over from the first card, but my intention was to use that sand colored version right there on the side, but it didn't really stand out. So I'm going to add some glue and then add that straight to the bottom of the card. It's a little bit long, so I trim it off screen. And before I go any further, I'm going to add that to the front of an A2 card base. I am leaving a little bit of a trim all the way around and making sure it's nice and flush. So next, I'm going to take the stamp set and decide on what I'm going to put on the front of this sun image. I've already added the birds off screen, and now I'm just going to add the sentiment, and I chose La Vita è Bella, life is beautiful. And I'm going to call this card done. So now I put the cards side by side to look at them and take a photo, but then I realized they're both still missing something. So I am going to add another element to both cards. I'm going to grab my Nuvo crystal glaze and add that to all of the windows and doors of both buildings on the first card and on the second card, as well as adding that on the water and then on the sun on the second card. This way, it gives the illusion of there being some windows, actual glass, in each of those little yellow spaces, and also giving the illusion of the water giving off a bit of a sheen and the sun just being shiny. And it also puffs up a little bit when it dries, and it looks really, really good. So here I'm finishing up, and as soon as it's dry, I'll show you the finished product. Okay, we're back, and both cards are dry. Look how nice and shiny that building looks, both buildings on the left and the sun. Very, very glossy and shiny. It really makes a big difference when you add Nuvo glaze or crystal effects. So it makes the sun just pop out, all the windows. I love the silhouettes on both of them and the water. I really hope this inspires you to check out Hero Arts and see what their monthly kits offer. They always have beautiful stamps. Sometimes they add inks, and they always have some great coordinating dies. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button. It really does help me figure out what you want to see on this channel. And leave me a comment. Let me know what you want to see next. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye-bye.